The rise of media has shattered big communities into smaller ones, with more participation. This is called media plenitude, which is an enormous universe with no rigid definitions of high culture. Old and new media coexist and compete without a clear hierarchy. So, universal centers are no longer a thing, while individual centers begin to exist within the communities. This provokes more inclusiveness and participation from all cultural spheres. We can call this phenomenon popular modernism, where the distinction between elite and popular culture is disappearing. This democracy in the media plenitude brings out a problem, that is that some social and political institutions require shared assumptions in order to function.
Like in lecture 5 and 6, culture is seen as a contradictory, strongly interrelated system. However, it is stated that we cannot understand culture as a whole. There is a reification or fragmentation of the culture that makes it impossible to understand the whole as a whole. It is the idea of various substantial rationality and no shared values. Mass culture is still a culture, even though it caused the decline of elite culture. So, Bolter formulates the same critics of the Frankfurt School as Morin. That is to say that they applied their own biased conception of culture. The characteristics still present of culture are complexity and lack of autonomy that results in cooperation and competition between old and new forms. There is no universality anymore. That leads to decentralization, competition. There is no search for a common denominator. Culture is not a terrain for communication between social classes, but a secular religion for small cultural classes. There is a certain revival of the old collectivism with anonymous participation. And finally, this text could be related to filter bubble. Everyone has their own center, and the media plenitude makes the rise for the need of filter.
The coexistence of Netflix with other media is an example of the digital plenitude. At first, people used to watch all the same channels and TV shows, but now with Netflix and so many different options, there are much nicher communities of people who watch and value very different types of media. Netflix also didn't replace any TV show or novel. It still coexists together, and there is no center of media anymore. There is no collective definition of a good show, book, song, etc. There is no hierarchy in different types of media anymore, because for me, Netflix might be art, while for my friend it's classical music, and for my cousin it is video games. Each community defines what they find the best medium in their opinion and places it at the center. And the term art applies to every medium now, even to popular Netflix series, according to, for instance, my community. And if you're part of that Netflix loving community, you'll think that that is the best medium. So, Netflix movies are art, just like Van Gogh paintings are art for other people. The homepage of Netflix becomes a little at-home museum.
The fact that the hierarchy in the media has disappeared means that all people are now able to share information on the internet. This gives us more creative freedom, of course, but it can also lead to problems. Let's take the COVID-19 pandemic as an example. So, during this pandemic, the digital plenitude allowed an infinite amount of health-related information to be shared on the internet. And this, of course, included misinformation about the vaccinations, about magical medicines, or the origin of the virus. This information often came from unreliable sources like influencers. Before the digital era, news could only be spread through traditional news outlets, which made the spreading of misinformation way less prevalent than it is today. During the pandemic, people were believing blogs and social media personalities over actual experts and credible news sources. This shows how the digital plenitude helps highlight how the democratization of content can allow misinformation to be taken seriously next to credible sources.